Hard hat's all about showing up to play hard, doing what it takes to win.
If you want to cement legacy, win another.
He's your third center.
You don't want to pump him up too much, but it's hard not to.
This is maybe the most I've ever agreed with you.
What up, Sherrod?
What up, Jimmy?
I don't know how to roll. I don't know how to roll the intro. I like to criticize Amit, but the truth is I don't know how to do it either. But it's all
Damn
good.
it, Jimmy. This is where schooling fails.
Damn it, Jimmy. Damn it, Amit. It's all good, though, because you know why, Sherrod? The Celtics took care of business. They keep it rolling. 123-105 dub over the 76ers, man. I mean, we're Philadelphia 76ers. How far we have fallen. I used to love playing the Sixers, Sherrod. Because I hate Philly fans. And I hate the Sixers, and I love it when they lose, and I love it when the Celtics beat them. But now I just kind of feel bad for the Sixers, man.
I don't feel bad for
the
them
fans.
I don't feel bad for them at all.
I don't feel bad for Philly fans because they just won a Super Bowl. Shout out you, Sherrod. But Sixers fans, like I need like angry Sixers fans. Like they're not even angry; they're just like hurt, and they're not even like they don't even care because that's how bad the Sixers are. No Embiid, no George. No Maxey tonight, no chance for the Sixers. And that's with the Celtics down a number of players as well. No Brown, no Porzingis, no Holiday, no Hauser, no Horford. I mean, we could go on and on and on.
I mean, this was Tatum, D. White, and the main Celtics.
It was. It really was.
The main Celtics featuring Jayson Tatum in addition to Derrick White. I mean, this game, when I realized how
this is not going to be a game we talk about for ages or even minutes.
I just didn't think that the Celtics would just pull away as easily as they did, knowing how deep they'd gone into the reservoir. Where you've got Baylor banging down threes, something he's never really done. You got
blowing kisses.
Yeah,
dude is blowing kisses to the Sixers bench like he's been doing it for years.
I'm like, dude, you are still wet. You still got a little milk on your chin there, son. You're a baby in this game.
He couldn't wait to blow kisses.
No, he couldn't. But look, the kid, he's out there. He's finally getting it. This is like a dream come true type of game for him and a lot of those end of the bench / main Celtic guys. And they handle their business. I thought it was interesting, though, Jimmy. And this is the one part that really jumped out at me was how the Celtics finished the third quarter, nice little run, go back up, push the lead up to 18. And the blowout didn't start to the fourth, where Tatum was done for the night. It was almost as if, Tatum getting his, I think, 35 and 31 minutes.
Yeah.
They were
Sixers
done.
tried to climb back a little bit, but yeah, the hurt was on.
Yeah.
And it was like you said, it was the kids. It was the Stay Ready crew. The Stay Ready crew was the Get Ready crew tonight. They knew going in that they were going to get their time to shine. And you look at the starting lineup: Drew Peterson, Luke Kornet, Derrick White, Jayson Tatum, and Nimi Keita in the game.
Yeah.
And I mean, a starting lineup with Keita and Peterson is something that you typically don't expect to see, and you probably won't see again. But give those guys credit for showing up and taking advantage of their playing time. Peterson unfortunately didn't get a score, didn't get a point tonight. But you got a lot of production from Shireman. We'll talk about him in this one, and we have Noa at the game. All her favorite players got a chance to shine tonight. Shireman, Walsh.
You know what?
I mean, Peterson. You go down the line. This is probably your favorite game.
Yeah, just imagine Bobby Luke Kornet times 3. That's kind of how Noa is right now. She's got all of us. What's that?
We got Joe live. Sorry to cut you off.
Let's
get to Joe.
Do it. Let's do it.
Whoops, right here. Whoops. There we go. Wait, can we hear him?
No, I can't hear him.
I can't hear him either. Wah, wah. All right, we're gonna go back to the drawing board. I'll wait to hear if we can hear from Joe. I don't think we can. But anyways, in the meantime, a game that Noah's gonna come on here and talk about to us. in a bit when she'll be able to tell us what Joe said, Sherrod, if we can get the sound. But I don't know where you want to start with this one, Sherrod. I mean, do you want to start with somebody that stood out to you? You want to start with somebody that stood out to you tonight that not maybe typically doesn't stand out and doesn't get the opportunity to? Let's talk about Sharman.
Yeah, I mean, this was his moment. This was his game. He did a lot of good things out there. This was as comfortable as we've seen him in an NBA game. But the thing is, a lot of what he did tonight is what he's been doing in the G League, and that's the thing that you want to really slowly but surely see happen. And just the things that these young guys are good at, can it translate at the next level? And this was a game where, yes, a lot of the things that he had been doing in the G League actually manifest itself tonight. So we got Joe now?
No, I was just testing it, but still nothing. I'm not going crazy. We still don't have anything. Anyways, checking in a minute.
Sharman was good. I mean, Sharman was really good. And he got it going early and never really let up in terms of just being comfortable, knocking down shots. And I thought defensively wasn't bad. We've seen better, but he wasn't bad.
No, I mean, listen, this is a game. They were very, very thin. There's not really, much of a typical bench to speak of here. But when you talk about Pritchard coming in again off the bench, giving you 19 points, Sharman giving you 15, and then old friend Torrey Craig, or I should say new friend Torrey Craig. We saw him at the jump. He's kind of been relegated to a deep reserve role. But again, on a night where so many guys are out, he gets 20 minutes. And I actually thought this was probably his best game as a Celtic. Let's see. Let's try one more time here. Still nothing. Say something, Joe.
I am Jimmy.
It's not working. Damn it, Amit. I'll say that again. But this was a game where you did have to dig deep. But again, talking about Craig, what did he do, Sherrod? He hit his shots. He waits for the shot in the corner, hits the three. That's really all you can ask for a guy that's coming in, roughly about a 40% shooter. And again, this was a game where guys had an opportunity to show when they can contribute in situations that call for it, basically.
Yeah.
These aren't guys that are going to have big roles going into the playoffs down the stretch. You're not going to have situations with 4 starters are out or 3 starters in a bench player or a role player, I should say, in Hauser. But this is why this game, take it for what it is. It's nice to get these because you do get an opportunity to see guys that on a great team like the Celtics, you typically don't see.
Right. So, absolutely.
That's kind of what you can take out of this.
Yeah. And as our good friend Sylvester Toe Jr. Points out, the bench mob, they definitely showed up and showed out tonight. I mean, pretty much everyone that came off the Celtics bench was able to contribute in some way, shape, or form. And that's what you want. You want guys to make the most of these opportunities because, when will, Drew Peterson or Sharman get a chance to play this many minutes in an actual NBA game? Not this year with the way this team is built and constructed. Not many, if at all. So no. I give those guys credit for making the most of their opportunity and handling the business.
Yeah, and then of course you had Tatum. He's the tried and true guy who, you weren't sure if even Tatum was going to play tonight, Sherrod, after missing last night's, but gave it a go tonight and didn't really look too hindered out there. 35 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 14 of 23 from the field for him. Just a, pretty efficient game all around from Tatum. As you can see, 7 boards, 5 of 11 from 3. So he hasn't really, skipped a beat, got a little extra rest. And really what this is, Sherrod, is, and Tatum got his minutes. And what did he end up playing? He ended up playing 31 minutes. So not too bad on a night where he certainly didn't need to play any more than that. Maybe even 31. It's probably more than he needed to play. But let's be real. This game is just get in, get out, get the W, and get ready for Saturday against the Lakers. Because that's what everyone's kind of waiting for, I think, if you're the Celtics at this point.
Yeah, get the win, stay healthy, and that's really all you were looking for in this one. So it'll be interesting to see how the Celtics look roster-wise for that Lakers game. I mean, are they going to be at full strength? Are going to be closer to full strength? I expect them to be closer to full strength for sure, but I don't know if they're going to have all their pieces. I don't have a feeling for whether, we'll see Porzingis out there. who to me, he's the one wild card in all of this because Porzingis, I mean, he's still the cheat code. I mean, he's still the one guy that opponents have I think a challenging time matching up with because of his ability to stretch the floor, his ability to score from the elbow, his ability to be a rim protector. There's a lot of little things that he does, and when he's not out there, you know, there are going to be nights where you're going to miss him more than others, and certainly against a team like the Lakers, the way that they're built, he could be a major problem for the Lakers if he's able to play, and the Celtics know this.
Yeah, I mean, I think Porzingis is probably the biggest unknown of them all because it's a sickness, right? And you're just not really sure. There's a bad flu going around. They say it's the worst flu in the last 20 plus years. I don't know if that's what he has, but if it is, I mean, I have some friends that have been, you know, dealing with it for well over a week, and it certainly went around Massachusetts for a while. Again, I don't know if that's what he's got, but I wouldn't be surprised if he has something similar. And so hopefully he's on the mend and he couldn't be ready for Saturday. I feel like on the broadcast tonight, and I just maybe missed it online, but you know, Holiday was practicing with the team. So he's obviously getting close. You know, I don't know if again, that's just something he's going to go through a light workout with the team or whatnot. But the fact that he's out there, the fact that he's participating in the practice, and who knows when he's going to say, yeah, let's just give it a go and, you know, tape it up. Let's get out there and I'll just, you know, kind of protect it as best I can. You got Jaylen Brown dealing with a knee injury. How serious is that? I guess we'll find out. What's the deal with Hauser? Was that ankle?
I think it was an ankle, I believe.
Yeah. So yeah, these guys are a little banged up right now, but I am sure that if any of them can play, they will, because this is a game that everybody has circled. Not just the fans, but I think the players really get up for these matchups. Celtics, Lakers, LeBron coming in. They've had some great battles against LeBron teams over the years. And then you've got Luka, you know, NBA Finals. Luka, it's not a rematch of the NBA Finals because, well, we all know why. But Luka, you know, being in the building on Saturday night after the NBA Finals and you know, just being the electrifying player that he is, the Lakers arguably playing the best basketball in the entire NBA right now, Sherrod, or at least right up there, second in the West. I mean, you're talking about a team that was like kind of fighting for a play-in spot there for a minute. And now, you know, it's amazing how quickly things can change. I mean, a lot had to happen for it to change. They had to get arguably the best player in the NBA, and it's still wild to me how that all went down. And I think if you're a conspiracy theorist, you have every reason to have the tinfoil hat on right now. And I wonder how Luka ended up on the Lakers and how, you know, with all that's going around the NBA, how this is so much better for the game all of a sudden, and Celtics, Lakers, and all of a sudden a potential rematch. I'm just saying, if I was a conspiracy theorist, and I just might be, I might have my antennas up a little bit, Sherrod.
It looks
Saturday night's going to be wild. What do you think about the Lakers, the way they're playing right now? Or, you know, if you're the Celtics, what can you expect from this Lakers team?
Well, the one thing that they're doing that I don't think most people anticipated was they're stepping up their game defensively. You kind of figured that they would be a pretty potent offensive team with guys like LeBron James, the all-time leading scorer in NBA history, and Luka, who has been, you know, he's got shots and plays in the bag that are damn near unguardable. So you figure offensively they'd be okay, but their defense has been really good. And I think more than anything else, their defense is good because there's a high level of accountability. When they had Anthony Davis back there, he really cleaned up a lot of the mess that other guys left. And they became very reliant on that. And they know that without him, without that inside interior presence defensively, you have to be better at guarding your yard. You have to be better in a more individualized basis, and you have to become a better help side defender. And the Lakers have shown a lot of growth in those areas in a short period of time. So that more than anything else is why this team is one of the top teams out west because of their ability to defend at a relatively high level, which is a stark contrast to what they did before. And to be honest, it's freaking mind-blowing that it's happening with Luka. Because the one thing that we've seen, the one thing that we've heard, the one thing we've been told time and time again is Luka can't defend. There is no D in the name Luka. I know it's a short name, but there's no D in that. And there never has been. And yet you look at him now, he's moving well laterally. He's contesting shots. He's getting in passing lanes. He's doing all the things that you.
He's the new guy.
Exactly. And he's playing as, I mean, he is a great example of when coaches and players talk about sometimes in order to be the best version of yourself, you gotta move into a new zip code. And that seems to be the case with
keep it
Luka.
moving.
Luka was already a 5-time first-team All-NBA player, but now he looks more and more like a guy that can lead his team to a championship, more so than he could do at Dallas. And I say it in that order because LeBron James, as great as he is, he now has someone who can take the reins and allow him to just frankly do a lot of the other stuff and not have to be the brain trust of what the team's doing. Luka can do that stuff, and they can switch back and forth. And that's what makes this team a very dangerous playoff opponent.
You've got the Luka Lakers on a 7-game winning streak. Going into tonight, they play the Knicks tonight, I believe, and that's a 10:30 start. So that one should be tipping off shortly. That should be a fun game to watch too. But you look at them, and I'm looking at their team stats right now. 6th in field goal percentage in the league at 48.2%. That's one of their numbers that stands out the most. But nothing else really stands out, Sherrod, from like what they do really, really, really well. I think it's lightning in a bottle right now, certainly for them. I think Luka being the new guy is going to be on his P's and Q's, his best behavior. He's going to be trying a little bit extra hard. And then they've got LeBron. And I'll say this about LeBron. I can't have the LeBron debate tonight, Sherrod.
We're not going to have it.
We're not going to have it, but we might have it Saturday night. Who knows? He's still doing the damn thing in his age 40 season. He is still the face. You want to have the face of the NBA talk? He is still the face of the NBA. And it seems like he just will be until he retires. These young kids, these young cats coming up, Sherrod, they're looking at LeBron goo goo gaga, big-eyed. Oh, that's LeBron James. I remember watching him when I was a kid, and boom, dunks on you. Boom, blows right by you. Boom, boom, drills a 3 in your face, rips a board, wins the game. There's not enough. LeBron is still public enemy number 1, and he's still the face of the NBA, and he's still carrying his team, putting the team on his back. And yeah, he's got some help now with Luka, but he's still got the team on his back, bringing them to the promised land, or at least that's the goal. And if I'm in the Western Conference, if I'm any team but the Thunder, I'm scared about the Lakers because the way that they're playing right now, the attitude they have, the swagger that they're kind of rolling with, you have every reason to believe that they are a legitimate contender. Even if you do feel like it's lightning in a bottle right now, there's no reason to believe that they can't keep that rolling as long as guys stay healthy.
Well, you're talking about a team that they're the number 1 defensive team in the NBA in the last 7 games. They're on a 7-game winning streak, and they've been the number 1 defensive team since then. And so that, again, it's a little bit mind-blowing to think about them being an elite team defensively when you look at just some of the pieces. But again, the big thing with them is just there's greater accountability. They don't have the luxury of having an all-NBA defender back there with Anthony Davis. And to me, Luka has been just the surprise of all surprises with their defense because and I've always felt that guys who are elite offensive players, they're usually elite offensive players because their ability to understand angles and understand just getting to the spots where they can get their shots off and be effective. And I never understood why guys weren't able to translate to the defensive end of the floor other than the fact that they just didn't want to do it.
They just didn't want to.
Yeah. Luka has shown the ability since he's been in LA to defend at a high level. And that is scary because if you're getting like good or solid, maybe not spectacular, but definitely solid defense from Luka, that's going to be a problem. That's a big, big problem for teams.
So in 9 games for the Lakers, Luka's averaging 22.9 points, 7.7 rebounds, 8.2 assists, shooting 40% from the field, 30% from 3, 72% from the line. Again, not numbers that would like jump out at you, but to your point, Sherrod, it's what he's doing for them on the defensive end now. And by the way, we're reading Luka's numbers, but here's LeBron James' numbers this season. 24, almost 25 points a game, 8.5 rebounds, 8 assists, 52% from the field, and a shade below 40% from 3. I mean, it's just
insane.
This is ridiculous. I mean, we're not going to have LeBron MVP talks, but I'll tell you what, man. you could make a weird case that he should be in the talk about it if the Lakers continued on the trajectory the rest of the year. I know wasn't even a discussion point to start the year, and I understand he's not going to win. I get it, but point I'm trying to make is this guy is still doing it and still putting up numbers that are some of the best in the NBA, all around numbers. I mean, these are numbers that we still want to see from Tatum in a lot of cases, right?
Mm-hmm.
A guy going into his prime. But yeah, and I think with Luka, Sherrod, maybe it is just a change of scenery, not one that he asked for, certainly not one that he expected, or,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sure there was a major adjustment involved. But like you said, new surrounding, new environment, new teammates, new coaching staff, ownership, whatever it might be, organization, playing for the storied franchise in LA. Not that Dallas isn't, but all those things can spark you a little bit. All those things can light a fire under you a little bit and kind of get you a little bit more, if you were flat or if you were uninspired. I'm not saying Luka was, but if he was, and if he was lacking on the defensive end because of it, or lacking on his diet because of it, all the talk about him being overweight, something like that can drastically reshape things for you and can kind of put you back on track and put you in the right direction. And believe it or not, there is another level to Luka's game, and it does kind of start on that defensive end.
Well, the one thing that Luka having gone through all that he's gone through since leaving Dallas and the way he left Dallas, there's another new thing that he has: motivation.
Right.
He's got
motivation.
I think all players, I think, are motivated to some degree, but it's hard when you've been a 5-time All NBA player to just motivate yourself. It's like, what can I do to get better when I'm already in that short list of the greats? Well, getting your ass traded for an
that can humble you,
Anthony Davis, to play with arguably one of the greatest, if not the greatest player ever in LeBron James. That's motivation to be great, because now all of a sudden Lakers are literally bringing you in the fold so that LeBron, when he's ready to walk away from the game, will pass you the baton, and then you become the face of the franchise for one of the just 2 or 3 most iconic NBA franchises. The Celtics obviously in that conversation as well. And so if you're Luka, there's a different kind of motivation for you to be great. You always wanted to be great, but now you got a chance to not only be great, but be part of a great franchise. A franchise has a different level of expectations from their best players. In Dallas, it's like, make a deep playoff run and we're happy. Win a championship, yeah, that's great too. But if you can make a deep playoff run, that's more than enough to satisfy them. In LA, hell no. They're trying to win chips. They, believe me, they're still, they recognize the fact that they're one behind Boston. They recognize that.
That's all they want to do.
That's all they want to do.
Right. There's certain organizations where it's that's the goal every year, pretty much, right? I mean, Celtics being one as well. That's what fans expect. That's what the organization expects, and that's what they're used to, and that's the goal. You try to design your team, and I'm not saying I'm not saying realistically you can make that happen, but certainly you have that in mind. And when you have a LeBron James team, that's the goal. LeBron James is not on your team to rebuild. He's not on your team to, fight for a play-in game. He's on your team, especially, and he's still playing this game at the level that he is because he wants to win another championship, and he's going to do everything he can. He's proving that right now to do that. And I think that's probably inspiring to guys like Luka, for example, who see how hard this guy's worked over his career and see how he's still going strong, see how he's still hungry. A guy that probably doesn't need to be, a guy that already is considered by many the GOAT, and he'll never be considered that by everybody. He knows that, and he's not going to change anybody's mind. I shouldn't say that. I think he could still change people's mind over the course of time. But he's bringing them together. They're coming along here, and Saturday night's going to be electric, absolutely electric. We'll get into a little bit more when Noah jumps on the show. We did get a question earlier. I don't want to skip it. Thank you, Dylan, for the super chat. Circle back to the game here. And again, the Celtics did play a game tonight. We understand that it's not going to go down as one of the most memorable games of the season, unless you're, Shireman or Walsh or Peterson. Maybe you remember this one a little bit more. But if you're a Celtics fan, or if you're the Celtics organization, this is a game you just wanted to get the W and move on. Dylan asks, what are your thoughts on how the guys played tonight, especially the bench guys, pacing, hustling, movement, etc. Sherrod.
This This is a tough one, and only because here's what you got to take into account. Did they play well? Absolutely. Lots of guys played well, did a lot of things that we weren't really sure they could do in an NBA game. That was great to see. But you can't ignore the fact that they did it against a team that is, if you're just being honest, they're trash. This Sixers team is NBA trash. That doesn't mean that they're horrible players, but as a team, collective group, they're not very good. So it's hard to get a true gauge on whether, the Celtics young players, those bench guys, or they playing well because they were ready for the moment and they took advantage of it, or were they playing well because they were ready for the moment and took advantage of a really bad team, or is it a combination of the two?
Mm-hmm.
I prefer to lean towards them recognizing their opportunity and making most of that opportunity. But I can absolutely see a case for, their success was a little bit inflated because the team they played was very deflated. But again, if you're the Celtics, Jimmy, to the point that you made earlier, this game was not about setting career highs or giving a chance to kids to get out there and play. This was about getting a win and getting out of the game healthy enough so that you've got as close as you can to your core group intact for that Lakers game on the weekend.
Yeah, I think if you did want to, single out specific players, I think this is a game that, Shireman will talk after the game. I'm sure Noah's going to get an interview from him. We're going to hear from Joe. We do have the interview from post-game press conference from Joe that we're going to put up in a minute after we finish this convo. And I imagine he was asked about Shireman. I liked what I saw from him. He was very active out there, up and down the court. He didn't look shy. He took 7 threes. I mean, let me get the let's see what
that ain't shy.
are.
Taking 7
ain't
threes.
Shy. No, not at all. Let me see if I can take this comment down here. Here we go. Whoops, sorry. Hide. 15 points, 5 of 10 from the field, 3 of 7 from 3, 3 boards, 3 assists, and a plus 18.
Yeah.
And just under 30 minutes. And that's great.
Yeah.
I think his career high was 5 points going into this game. Obviously, with an opportunity tonight, he was given the green light to, look for his shot, take his shot when the ball comes to him. It looked like guys were purposely trying to get him the ball. I love the hustle I saw in the fourth quarter there, diving practically sliding, I should say, practically into the first row behind the basket, trying to save a ball from going out of bounds. And then the blown kisses, Sherrod, a little swagger from the rookie. I don't know if he's going to have a little talk with Jayson Tatum about the shot celebration here. I don't know how many guys can be blowing kisses at once on the court, but we'll give it to him tonight. This was a good night for him. 3 3-pointers. And, coming into the NBA or when he was drafted, guy was known for as being a scorer, straight up. We haven't really been able to see it yet, but certainly you get an idea of why that's kind of been his MO.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's tough when you're a rookie in this league and you're playing for a really, really good team, established team full of veterans, particularly players at your position. So you need these opportunities to showcase what you can do. Because there's a lot of uncertainty. I mean, the Celtics have already shown that, they're not willing to cut you loose if they don't feel that you're growing at a rate that they feel comfortable with. I mean, we saw the second-round pick, the Watson kid, he got cut loose, and that was a guy that, remember, shortly after the draft, people were talking about he might be the guy that could potentially, be the next Al Horford. And, now he I think got picked up by the Knicks, I believe. But even if he sticks around for the rest of the season, he's a guy that's probably going to have to make sure that passport is updated because he's probably going to play in some third world country or a second-rate league.
Maybe not third world, but
third world country, second-rate league will all conflate at some point in the basketball ecosystem. But he's not going to be in the NBA much longer. And again, the Celtics have shown the ability to just recognize when it's time to cut your losses. And when to add some new blood. You look at most of the guys that, were traded away. Life did not get better for many, if any of them, after they left Boston, basketball wise. But Shireman, like I think he's a good player. I'm a little bit. I'm not crazy about the blowing kisses things because it gives me flashbacks to our good friend Gershon Yabusele. Remember, every time he would score, he would do the little bow and arrow thing, and And
You mean Philadelphia 76er Yabusele now?
Yeah, the Philadelphia 76ers, who was, got sent away from Boston and was out of the NBA and had an amazing Olympic run that got him back into the NBA. Yeah, that Yabusele.
That guy. Yeah, he had we all remember the bow and arrow.
Yeah, dancing bear.
Yeah, I think we'll see what happens with the Shireman case. We'll see if we keep seeing it or if it's already retired. Speaking of the Sixers, Sherrod, you mentioned one former old friend or one old friend, another old friend on the Sixers tonight, Lonnie Walker.
Oh boy, damn!
Couldn't make the Celtics. Went overseas, came back, signed with the Sixers for a multi-year deal for short money. Finished with 17 points tonight, 6 of 13 from the field. 5 3-pointers for Lonnie Walker. So Lonnie Walker can still do the damn thing too. However, I will say in the plus minus department, he was a minus 25. But I mean, really not that much worse than the rest of the guys he was playing with.
I was going to say that number to me is more of a reflection of the guys that he was on the floor with than is him.
Exactly. Yeah.
Lonnie
he was off the bench for them, 17 points.
And this is one of his better games since he's been with them, for sure. But again, Lonnie is doing the one thing that the Celtics, I thought, needed to address in some capacity, and that's add more shooting. As crazy as that may sound, they don't really have a lot of guys that can create their own shot off the bench. And Lonnie, I thought, gave them another dimension. But I get why they didn't. I mean, I get why they did what they did. It was a money thing. It was one. It had nothing to do with his talent, nothing to do with his potential, nothing to do with what they thought of him as a player, and everything to do with the money.
Yep.
And it kind of sucks, but again, the kind of checks that the Celtics have cut, you give them a little grace in not adding a player who would be a significant financial burden on them, who may be what, 9th, 10th man, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't come back to hurt them at all. I mean, this would have been the type of game where you would have used them, and the Celtics still pulled off the W anyways. We're gonna get to Joe Mazzulla press conference, but first, let's talk to everybody about our friends at Prize Picks. That's right. What is Prize Picks, you ask? Well, it's the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less, Sherrod, on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Not 100, not 500, 1,000. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. Again, guys, it's the best place to win cash while watching sports. You join over 10 million users and sign up today. They offer Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account. And I got to say, with the Celtics and Lakers coming up Saturday night, that's Prize Picks is going to be the place to go to, maybe add a little juice to the already entertaining game. Put a little bit more or on mustard on things. So if you download the app today, use the code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app today, use the code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. What will LeBron James end up with? Will Tatum play? I'm sure he will. It's going to be an unbelievable game. So again, Prize Picks, run your game. And Sherrod, let's just go right into Joe and see what he had to say. And I will say, if we do hear from anybody on the podium, we'll cut out of Joe, we'll go to the podium, and then we'll come back to Joe. So let's see here.
Demanding of Nemi and grateful that he allows you to coach him that way. What were the points of emphasis when you were getting on him in the first half, and what did you think of his bounce back?
Yeah, I mean, I just think he had some opportunities to, finish plays in the paint, and with them blitzing and changing defenses. We have to be able to punish that. And, I thought in the first half he was just a little hesitant, on those. In the second half, he did a great job of finishing them. And so, when you're hard on a guy like that, I told him that yesterday. I truly think that he has a chance to be a good player in this league, and he's won games for us. And it's hard sometimes when he doesn't get to play all the time, but that can impact his value. So I really believe in him, and he's got a chance to be good. So he's got to stay on him.
The Lakers coming up on Saturday. You guys are playing well. They're playing really well. How has the addition of Luka changed that team?
I mean, obviously, his ability to score. I mean, it looks like they're playing with a level of joy.
Level of
also
joy.
firepower, also really good in defense. I think since the trade, they're like #1 in defense. So, well-balanced team, and it's going to take a connected game on both ends of the floor.
You're a student of the Boston Celtics. You understand the history. You understand the rivalries. How do you enact that as the coach? Do you put extra emphasis on those rivalries, or are you able to compartmentalize that?
I mean, I would try to treat every game the same. Every game is a must-win game until the game is over. So, obviously those are there, and yeah, it'll be a different atmosphere having a team like the Lakers there. But I think the idea is every game should feel as if it's the most important game, and when you can do that, you're able to stick to the process of that. But at the same time, you feel the honor of playing in a game like that, because you've seen the battles that two franchises have gone against. And so there is a level of appreciation that you have to have. At the same time, it's a game it's a must-win game. Whatever happens after it doesn't really matter.
Jayson had 35 points, 7 rebounds, 3 steals, and it kind of seems like nobody cares. What does it say about him to have a game like this and just kind of be like a ho-hum night?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you said that because I think that's true and I think that's important. I think that's good. But, I told him after the game, you did your job. Your job was to score 35 and sit the fourth quarter in a game like this, and he did it, and he was great. And he found a great balance of taking great shots. I thought it was super aggressive in the first quarter. I thought his defensive activity was just as good. And again, to sit here and have him do that and to be the last question of the night just kind of shows how good he is and what he does for us. But he did his job, and he was great in it.
And there you have it. Coach Joe on a number of things. I don't know who he was talking about in the first question there. Maybe Noah will be able to tell us, but had some good things to say about
I think it was Nemi.
It was Nemi? Okay. Had some good things to say about the Lakers coming to town on Saturday, and had some good things he finished there about Tatum. Do you have a point there with Tatum? It was a good question. I think it was Corrales basically just saying, 35 ho hum, not even gonna make the game story,
Right. Well,
I mean,
this is kind of the thing with Tatum. I mean, Tatum can have a horrific game, and then you look at the box score, and he's got 27 points. He's that good. Bad nights for him are in many historically awesome nights for a lot of players in this league. So for Tatum to have a high-scoring game like he did tonight in super efficient fashion, even if it was the Sixers, it's nice, but there's so many other things that are much more pressing and frankly far more important to this team. Developing those young guys, getting them some confidence, getting them some run in real NBA games, having them play with a little bit of purpose and personality, which we saw with Shireman. Those are some of the things that really mattered more than Tatum getting you a whole home 35. But again, it's not diminishing what he did. It's diminishing the importance in the eyes of their fan base of what he did. Tatum scoring 35 points is going to barely raise an eyebrow among Celtics Nation, as it should not, because he's that good. But Shireman going off for 15 or 13, whatever he had, and Nemi doing some great things, yeah, that's worth talking about. So this was a game that I think went according to plan. If you're Joe Mazzulla and the Celtics, exactly how you wanted it to go.
Yeah, and I keep saying it, but it's just going to be one of those games where Tatum does his thing, White chips in, Pritchard chips in. You got 19 from Pritchard tonight. Not the 43, Sherrod, but we might be a little spoiled now because on any other night we're talking about another great performance from Pritchard off the bench. 4 of 8 from 3, 4 boards, 6 assists. I mean, just another all-around game. It seems like he's in another gear out there, regardless of whoever he's playing with, whether he's playing with the bench unit, whether he's playing with the starters, regardless of what time in the game, regardless of whether or not he's just fresh off of a 40-plus point performance where I'm sure he was, a little winded after that one. But he seems to be really hitting his stride right now for the Celtics team. And again, it says a lot that even with the amount of players missing tonight, Mazzulla does not want to mess with the with the Pritchard mojo that's got going on off the bench. It's almost just like, yeah, it would have made sense to start Pritchard in the sense where start your best player sort of thing. But on the other hand, he's comfortable starting the game off off the bench. These guys get into a little bit of a routine, right? Why mess with it? At this stage, if that's what he's comfortable doing, he's great at it. He comes in during the game, can change the pace of things if he needs to, can, kind of punch the opposition in the face a little bit. Maybe take some of the starters out if they're at the point of where they're looking for a win, and he comes in and he's running laps around people. So, I thought, if you ever thought, oh, well, Pritchard, and we asked the question last night, is Pritchard a starter on this team? And we all know he's not this year, but at some point maybe he can be. But we got an answer tonight on whether or not he's a spot starter, at least this season, because this would have been the game that you could have done it for sure.
Yeah. And Pritchard is a guy that, again, I think he's in this kind of, back and forth space where he's getting the ability to carve out his own role while the Celtics are trying to figure out what's the best role for him to carve out. And I give him a lot of credit. He is making the most of his opportunities to showcase what he can do. People forget that this guy asked for a trade, a while back. And basically the trade was because he thought he could do more than what he's given an opportunity to do. And give him his props. When they traded Marcus Smart, they traded Malcolm Brogdon. That created a clear avenue for him to step in and do some of the things that he's been doing. And the Celtics haven't really looked back since then.
No. And, again, Celtics with the 123-105. 35 from Tatum. You got 19 from Pritchard. We talked a little bit about, guys like Shireman. We talked a little bit about, you mentioned Kate off the bat. What'd you like from Craig tonight? 12 points. We mentioned him briefly.
Yeah.
He's still like riding that. Is he an end of rotation guy or is he a stay ready guy? And I'm not sure if this changed anything tonight, but I will say they brought him in to hit shots, basically 3-point shots, play defense and, in and out. This is the ideal stat line. Of course it came in a situation where, kind of put an asterisk next to it. But the point is, able to find the basket a few times tonight, find the bottom of the basket, grab a few boards, contribute.
Yeah. And I like the fact that he was aggressive. I like the fact that he just did not seem and that may very well be just that when, he was still acclimating himself to his new team. And that's a process that there's no one size fits all way to do that. So there may have been some of that maybe limited him and made him, less impactful earlier. But, he knocked down his shots. He didn't really seem like he was forcing any of those shots. His defense, I don't think was great, but it didn't suck. And this was just overall, this was a good night for Tatum.
Yeah, he's not gonna he's not shut down by any stretch. He's not the fastest guy on the court, but he's a career role player, and that's kind of what he is on this Celtics team, and that's what he's gonna be probably on the next team. It kind of just is who he is. Depth guy, filling in a role perfectly tonight and what you would need. There is one guy we haven't mentioned tonight because Bobby's not on the show tonight, and that's really the only reason why. I know it hasn't jumped on yet. But Sherrod, I kind of gave it away, but who do you think was the game's plus-minus leader tonight? Who do you think that was?
The $20 million man, of course.
Our good friend. Oh, you're muted, or I can't hear you.
The $20 million man.
The $20 million man.
Yep.
9 points, 7 boards, 4 assists, plus 26 in 32 minutes.
Luke Kornet.
What else can you say about Luke? He is the joke's over. This guy is legitimately contributing to the Celtics team. They said on the broadcast tonight, he's like in the top 10 plus minus in the NBA for guys, or I don't know if it was plus minus, but it was for qualified players. Basically had to do with that essentially though. This guy is just continues to play his game smarter and smarter out there. It feels like he's he's in step, I would say is a good word to put it, with the players that are on the court. He kind of knows where he needs to be. He's putting down more lobs. Guys are going him a little bit more. Again, only 4 field goal attempts tonight, but a very efficient 4 of 4 from the field. And just a dependable guy. I mean, when you talk about like what it takes to get on the court, Joe Mazzulla needs to trust in you. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
That's why he has so many issues with Kada half the time, right? That's why you see the stay ready guys. He just kind of picks one on, seems like on any given night, just to see if tonight's the night where one of these guys is going to sort of separate themselves. But with Kornet, there's none of that anymore. I mean, Kornet is a legitimate part of this rotation. And last year, even last year, we talked about it. Like, if Kornet's in the game, like there's a big problem. But it feels like that's not really what you feel the same level anymore, right? I mean, of course, like, do you really want to see him playing, 40 minutes, on in the playoffs
or something, right?
Right. No, you don't. But like, he's still able to contribute. He's still able to, be somebody who can, help this team.
Yeah, and that's what you want. I mean, that's ultimately, Jimmy, what it comes back to. Can you help this team win? And what capacity does that look like? And Luke, again, he's an intangibles guy. The stuff that he does that helps his team win doesn't necessarily reflect clearly how important it was in the scorebook. I mean, he had 9.7 rebounds, 4 assists, tonight, which is a good stat line, particularly for a guy that's, is a fill-in starter.
4 blocks too. How about that?
Right. Yeah. So it was a very good Luke game, but a lot of this comes back to, what's your level of maintaining that level of play? Can you do it consistently? Are you giving them a little bit more at times than what you normally do? This is kind of a Luke-esque line, 9 points, decent rebounds, decent assists, low turnovers is kind of what he does. And so if you're the Celtics, you are enjoying the fact that you're getting a lot of consistent production from your third center.
From your third
Exactly.
center, your first center tonight. I'll tell you what, though. He might be somebody's second center. I don't know, Sherrod. He might be inching his way up. There's a team out there that can make him feel like that could possibly be the case. Your $20 million man. I know Bobby thinks he's just going to continue to take hometown discounts and be the third center until the end of time. I'm not sure if it works that way. I think at some point guys want to get theirs.
Yeah.
But certainly Luke's doing everything he can this year to prove that he is, more than just a third center, right? Somebody that team can actually depend on, and a smart basketball player out there. So you got to give a little shout out to Luke. Guys, Noa is at the game. She's in the locker room right now. I think Derrick White, I heard, was talking earlier. So we're going to get Noa on, hopefully, in the next few minutes, get her take on this game and get her opinion on the Lakers and things moving into Saturday. We're going to have good coverage of Saturday's game, Sherrod. There's a little rumor that you might be in the building Saturday. There's a rumor that I might be in the building Saturday. The old A team, Sherrod, might be making a little bit of a comeback here. So CLNS, Noah's going to, everyone's all hands are on deck for this game because it's a big one. It feels good, actually, Sherrod, to have a little Celtics Lakers rivalry feeling. There's been seasons where it's lost that luster.
You don't have to fake it.
You don't have to fake it.
Yeah,
you don't have to fake
legit.
it.
It's legit.
It's not easy to have both teams, at the top of their game or near the top of their game. That's why the NBA Finals was so much fun. When the Celtics went, beat the Lakers, and then when the Lakers paid it back. I mean, that was peak. Celtics Lakers. It's been hard to replicate that ever since. Teams have been good at different points. But the Celtics versus LeBron has always been a rivalry, and Celtics versus Lakers has always been a rivalry, some years more than not. And when you have both those things coming into the Garden, both teams playing great basketball, LeBron playing great basketball, players on the Celtics, Tatum, White, Brown, whoever, that are playing really, really great basketball, you get an absolute prime time game situation. Tickets, when I last checked, were going for $500 just to get in the door. We're talking like last row balcony here. Scares me a little bit because I want the true real fans at this game, Sherrod. I'm a little concerned that they might be priced out a little bit. I'm wondering how that's gonna affect things. But if you are going to the game Saturday night, man, are you in for a wild atmosphere? I mean, even like just showing up at Saturday, right? You're going to show up, you're going to get to Boston early, right? You're going to try to get dinner somewhere, maybe hit the bar or whatever, walk around the North End. As Tom Brady would say, maybe get lubed up. Who knows, be careful because it's a marathon, right? But
exactly.
But this is going to be high intensity. I really hope that the Celtics, the players here, understand the magnitude of this one and can get up. It's the home games that I'm worried about, Sherrod. It's not the road games. It's the home games with this Celtics team that, for whatever reason, they just don't seem to get fired up the same way. But I do feel like, and here we go, a little Celtics Lakers lower here. 8:30 start, so it's a late one, Sherrod. This is about as late as it gets for a game out in the East Coast.
Yeah.
You're talking about a game that's going to end after 11.
Yeah,
probably right around 11, give or take with the national TV. There's going to be there's a lot going into this one, and I don't know what to expect. I'm hoping for the best from both sides, and I think if that's the case, the Celtics should take this one. I expect them to be favored by a few points, especially at home, and I do think they are the more talented team. I don't think that's a hot take. But they obviously got to be healthy too. Is there anything about this matchup that you're going to be looking for specifically, or that if the Celtics can do this, they got a better chance at winning, or if the Lakers can do this, maybe they have a better chance at winning? Is there anything that kind of stands out to you?
I mean, other than I think the obvious, which is the Luka factor, but more to what I'm looking for is just how they defend as a group, because the Celtics force you to play great team defense in order to limit them, because they've got so many different guys with Jaylen Brown, Tatum, Derrick White, Pritchard coming off the bench, Al Horford, lots of different guys that you have to really have at the top of your scouting report. And it'll be interesting to see how do the Lakers deal with all the different looks that they're going to get from Boston, because we know with pretty good certainty that most of what the Lakers do is going to go through LeBron and Luka, but you can't make that same. You don't get the same vibe with the Celtics, because it can go through Tatum, it can go through Jaylen, it can go through D. White, it can go through Pritchard off the bench, Porzingis, lots of different ways the Celtics can really go at you, and that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, because I don't have a feel one way or the other like what's the Celtics are going to emphasize, because frankly they've got some options. They've got a number of options, and they need to be smart about executing, focusing on what those options are, and then just really just trying to make it happen.
Yeah, I do think that the Celtics, again, it's good that the Lakers are playing defense, Sherrod. It really is. And I'm happy for them. Shout out to the Lakers for finally playing defense and realizing that, you got to play it to, win games. And Bobby will hammer home the defensive side of things all show. But if the Celtics just play their game, and if they just play defense, if they just play solid basketball, and again, I know we're commending the Lakers for the way they're playing, but the talent level is still much different as far as I'm concerned. If you've got an engaged Celtics team, and I think you will, this is a game that I really do think that they're going to be able to take control of early on. They've been able to, LeBron has given them some big performances over the year, but they've also been able, the Celtics fans have been able to get in LeBron's head over the years too. And I'm not saying do anything out of line, but I am expecting, an emotional crowd. I'm expecting the fans to kind of let them have it. Like the old days, the Cavs days and the Heat's days. And this one to kind of be like turn back the clock type performance. But it does have the potential to be a legendary type game if LeBron gets into one of his zones. I think you can try to, unlike some other teams though, I think the Celtics will be able to kind of force LeBron and force Luka to try to get rid of the ball. Because, and I know that those guys are going to do whatever they can to shoot it, but the Lakers team's just not deep enough like some of these other teams can, where they can defer more, and they can, like the Celtics, for example. But making Luka frustrated is something I think some teams have been able to do. Frustrate Luka, let him get into a battle with the officials, be physical with him, make him take tough shots. I'm not saying he won't hit a few. He hits some of the toughest shots I've ever seen. But at the end of the day, Sherrod, if you're in his face, if you're making things difficult for him, he can get frustrated and taken out of his game a little bit. And that's when you start to see it like fall on the defensive side a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be the key. We do have Derrick White here. Let's see what Derrick White had to say after the game. We'll go to the locker room here at Derrick White.
I don't know what Philadelphia's basketball.
I want to know how.
So I got hit in the face. But they were temporary, and I was supposed to go in.
New teeth again?
Like 2 weeks ago, but I kept pushing it off to get like my permanent ones. But I'm gonna go tomorrow.
Did you just like shove them back in? Shove them back on?
Not exactly, but kind of.
You knew right away.
Yeah. Luckily they were like right there, and I picked them up. And then we went to the back, and I was trying to debate how I was going to go back, and then got some glue, and I put the mouthpiece on, and you're good to go.
Does it hurt?
Got some glue.
Did all of them come out? Like, how many teeth fell out?
So these four are like connected. It's like a bridge.
Okay.
I think it's what the dentist people call it. Shout out Boston Dental. I'll see y'all tomorrow, by the way. And so that fell out. Yeah, it's not a pretty sight. So thankfully, I covered my mouth right away.
Somebody's appointment is getting moved back. They don't know it yet.
You now pull the mouthpiece. Is that something you'll consider?
Yeah,
No.
You're right.
I'll consider it though, but no.
So Derrick,
unlikely.
I get playing through something like that in Game 5 of the NBA Finals, but this is random game in February, like or March, like why'd you go back out?
Well, after the glue and the mouthpiece, I figured
Got nothing better to
what's
do.
the worst that could happen, and then as long as I didn't take the mouthpiece out, and so
I'm already here.
just get back out there and keep the mouthpiece in. That's kind of how I thought about it.
Did you think like, oh, here we go again when it happened?
No, I knew what happened, and I knew why it happened, and I wish I went earlier, but so I wasn't freaking out too much because I knew what happened, but it was definitely interesting.
You really seem to love Baylor's hustle play at the end of the game. What got you so jacked up for that one?
Yeah, just a big time effort. Kind of surprised how fast he was running, honestly. And then the slide, it was just a great play, great hustle. And he could easily just let him get a dunk, and but just doing everything he needs to do, and had a big game today. Took advantage of his opportunity, so it's good to see, and I was happy for him.
Think you're going to be able to get all patched up in time for Saturday?
Yeah, I told you I'm going to dentist tomorrow. We'll be good.
Why does your face end up as like the target for so many things, seemingly?
What?
Well,
Front of it.
I don't know. Gotta start not doing that, I guess. I don't know. That was kind of a weird play. Obviously, the first one was pretty crazy, but this one wasn't as crazy. But I've been putting off the dentist, and so that's on me.
Derrick, speaking of Saturday, just as a basketball guy, how much does it mean to you be a part of the Celtic-Laker rivalry?
Yeah.
I mean, watching the documentary or the first episode, you kind of see like the beginning of it, and it's just pretty cool to be a part of it, and a long line of great teams on both sides, and great players. So Saturday will be no different, and it's gonna be a fun one.
Thanks, Derek.
That's right.
Man, somebody's getting their appointment pushed back. They don't know it yet. They're gonna show up and be like, wait a minute. I thought I was supposed to be here at 9:00. Nah.
Somebody got a calendar notification that their appointment was just pushed back. But you know what? It's for the greater good. This is important.
That's why
this is like getting the police escort to the stadium, to make sure you get to the game in time.
Exactly.
Shout out Derrick White. We didn't even really mention it, Sherrod, but this dude is hockey tough, man. And he's losing more teeth than anybody on the Bruins is this season.
I'm telling you, I used to
playing
think,
a lot harder than them too.
Yeah, I used to think guys like Sean Thornton, they'll miss a tooth every now and then, no big deal. But damn, this is not supposed to happen in the NBA. You're not getting into fights. You're not doing the kind of things that lead to you having your mouth smashed in. Derrick White, he just hustles. He just works hard. I love his attitude about it, though.
Does he wear a mouth guard? Can't remember.
I think he does. If he doesn't, he's going to.
Somebody should have asked him if he goes water, toothpaste, or toothpaste water on those teeth. That would have been the people need to know.
Oh yes. Does he make the toothpaste water sandwich, or is he?
Do you even need to brush fake teeth?
Yeah,
that's a good question. You do?
You do. I mean, think about it. If you have dentures, you gotta have some way to keep those things clean. Either brush them or you put them in a little. I remember my grandma, she used to put them in like this little, almost like a petri dish, and then there'd be like some fizzy stuff in there that cleans them. So it's not brushing, but there we go, Brandon.
Well, yeah, Brandon knows what's up. No. Listen, I know that you got to wash your like retainers and dentures, but if you just have teeth like glued on here,
I gotta believe you brush them, because if you don't, they'll be discolored from the rest of your teeth.
Yeah. They will. But you're not gonna. I guess you're not gonna get a cavity though.
No,
right?
Because it's not real.
I guess you're not gonna get a cavity if you're just like in between. Whatever. I mean, they'll figure it out. But point is, Derrick White's got to. Abby's kind of said it. She's like, bro, like you got to kind of take care of your face a little bit better. Like you might eat. But hey, we appreciate the effort. We appreciate the physicality, the charges that these guys take, the blocks they jump up for, the balls they dive for. Shout out Shireman. I mentioned it earlier in the show, Sherrod, but I guess Derrick White was a big fan of that slide from Shireman in the fourth quarter there, and it was good to see. And one of the other thing I want to mention that I think White may have mentioned it last night, or maybe it was a different player. It could have been Pritchard. But it is pretty cool that this Celtics documentary is coming out when it is. Because I think hopefully what it's doing is giving this current Celtics team a little history lesson, a little, Celtic pride history lesson, if you will, right? Because I think, these guys are so young now, right? I mean, it's hard for them to really put themselves back to those years and the history and what it means for the fans and for the organization and things. But when you have this documentary coming out and the interviews with some of the all-time greats and the footage, you get like that. I don't know how you couldn't help but feel like this is something special that I'm a part of. And to have that going on as they kind of go, I think Bill Simmons must have done this on purpose. The timing of it is perfect. Run right up into the playoffs, right? Kind of get everybody fired up, get the fans something to look, even for some fans that might not know a whole lot about it. We get a lot of young fans out there now that, their favorite players are Tatum and Brown because they don't remember what it was like to watch Paul Pierce play even, right? So you can imagine how much further back it goes. You think that's kind of a cool, or do you think that has and the reason I bring it up is because Derrick White mentioned it just now in the post game. And I know somebody mentioned it yesterday, and it could have been him again.
No, I think it's very cool because one of the knocks against this generation of players is that they don't understand nor do they appreciate the foundation that was laid out before.
Oh, shoot.
Hey,
Oh, wait.
To play at an all NBA level.
There we go.
What goes through your mind when you think about what LeBron's doing at age 40, and how does he look different with Luka as a running mate?
Yeah. I mean, as much as we probably talk about LeBron, we probably don't talk about him enough, right? Being 40 in his 22nd season, playing at an all NBA level is incredible. Testament to the work ethic that he's put in, to his game, to his body, to stay at the best shape, to be able to compete and perform at the highest level for, over 2 decades now. Something that we should all strive to do, even if it might be unlikely. But it's a joy to be able to compete against him, in these matchups, for however long we get to do it for.
What's your reaction when you see Derrick's teeth pop out the way they did tonight, and then see him check back into the game a couple minutes later?
Start checking my shit, make sure I was good. I mean, tough, right? It happened Game 5 of the finals last year. So you just hate to see somebody deal with the same thing over and over again. But I was surprised he came back. But competitor.
Translation, I wouldn't have came back.
Always wants to be out there. So, I'm glad he's doing all right.
Jayson, a situation like tonight, obviously both teams sitting a lot of guys. You're playing a lot of guys that won't normally play, but it's still you and Derrick and Peyton out there. What do you do for guys like Baylor and Drew and other guys that may be looking around trying to defer to you, but you need them to just play basketball? How do you approach that? How do you get them to kind of just be comfortable?
Yeah. I mean, it's a balance, right? Like, you want to instill confidence in guys. But, I'm not out here like holding your hand in the sense of like, be a basketball player. I tell Baylor, Jordan, all those guys, like, yo, when you get out here, make a play on whatever, both ends of the floor. When you open, shoot the ball. You have a closeout, attack it, make the right read. Just don't be a robot. Be a basketball player. Do what got you here. And when
be a robot.
Are in these moments, it's all about making the most of it. And just making plays.
Jayson, obviously the Sixers are a big rival of the Celtics. You have history against this team. Lakers, the rival, right? I asked Joe about this. He said, you got to treat every game that's in front of you like it's the most important game, but you can't ignore that there's heft to these rivalries. So I want to ask you the same question. How do you kind of like de-emphasize that the rivals are in town, and then also give it kind of the historical oomph that it deserves and kind of has earned?
Yeah, I mean, I obviously understand the history between the Lakers and Celtics. I would say from my time in the league, like, I wouldn't look at the Lakers as rivals. We only play them twice. The teams that we've played over and over again in the playoffs, Philly would be one of them, and the other teams as well. But you respect and understand the history and all the guys that wore the Lakers and Celtics uniform and what it means to the game of basketball and the NBA. And it's an honor to be a part of that for sure. So, I'm certain everybody's looking forward to that matchup, as they do, every single year.
Joe said after the game that he told you that your job tonight was to score 35 and set the fourth quarter. Is that something you're aware of going into a game like this, or is that kind of a...
Why did Joe say that?
I mean, Joe always tells me, each night is solving a puzzle, right? And tonight looked different. Playing with different lineups, understanding that, Nick Nurse and his staff, they do different things defensively, boxing 1, triangle 2. They just throw different things at you. And, Joe just came up to me before the game, was like, yo, it's a unique puzzle that you got to figure out tonight. And he was just like, I look forward to seeing you do that. Not necessarily score 35 and sit the fourth, but that works too.
You've played with a lot of rookies over the years during your time as a Celtic. What stands out to you about Baylor and just like his competitiveness? And it seemed like he looked kind of more veteran out there, I would say. What kind of stands out to you?
Yeah, I think, obviously played in college a lot longer than guys that maybe were one and done. But his understanding of the game, very high IQ player, knows where to be on the floor. Spacing wise, obviously he took some charges tonight. He got a steal in the backcourt in that third quarter. He just has really good instincts. Obviously he can shoot the ball. Not, the most athletic, but understands how to use his body and his tempo to be effective throughout the game.
All right.
Jayson Tatum, everybody. Some interesting thoughts on Celtics Lakers rivalry, or maybe lack thereof, Sherrod. And I get it. I really do get it. Like we said, it's not easy to have both those teams kind of line up and be great at the same time. The reason why that rivalry escalated to where it did, 10 years ago, or however many years ago it was, a long time ago now, 15, geez, it's because they met in the NBA Finals. And so that's when you built it. Because he's right. Teams out west, it's hard to feel that same level of, competitiveness or rivalry or hatred, if you will, because you see him twice a year. And it's too bad. Maybe the NBA should think about changing that. Who knows? Do you really need to play the Raptors 4 times a year? Probably not. But to his point, teams like the Sixers, teams like the Heat, the Knicks, maybe, those types of teams are the teams that he's used to seeing a lot of and sort of developing more of a rivalry. So I get it. But on Saturday night, you're going to get a playoff atmosphere type game. Could be an NBA Finals preview type game too. Obviously the Lakers would need to pretty seriously upset the Thunder. But, with the way things are going, would it really be that crazy? Would it be that out of left field? No, it wouldn't. But that's really what I think it would take for the Celtics Lakers to get to that level where it used to be in terms of rivalry, hatred, whatever word you want to use. I'm hoping that the documentary might spark that a little bit too, but obviously it's not going to do anything, before Saturday's game, because it won't even be another episode out until then. But what, thoughts on anything Tatum had to say tonight?
Well, a few things.
First of all, whether it was his role or.
Yeah, just his comments about the rivalry, I thought were very on point as far as the mindset of today's player. He recognized the historical nature of playing the Lakers, but he's kept it 100. We only see them twice a year. So how can we really be rivals? And you're right, Jimmy. The rivalries are built in the playoffs. When you think about, even some of the mini rivalries, like when the Celtics had that, there was like a 2 or 3 year stretch where, they had beef with the Wizards. A lot of that manifests itself in the playoffs. When you look at the battles that they've had with Milwaukee and some other teams in the Eastern Conference, the playoffs are where those battles are amplified. And the reason is because there are no excuses when you get to the playoffs. When you lose to a team in the regular season, it could be on a back-to-back. It could be you missing one of your core players. There's just a long laundry list of reasons why you either don't win or you win convincingly. But playoffs, none of those reasons matter because it is survive and advance. That's all that matters. And if your team isn't built well enough to survive and or advance, it's a wrap. Your season's done. And that finality is where the rivalries begin because there's more at stake. And players typically play with a different kind of intensity, a different kind of passion, a different kind of edge when you have all the chips on the table. And we've seen that historically with the Lakers and the Celtics. We saw, was it 2010 last time they met in the finals?
Yeah.
So we know what that looks like. We know what that feels like. And Tatum would have a very different take on the Lakers-Celtics rivalry if they met in the playoffs, in the men in the finals. There's no doubt about that. No doubt about that.
Tatum was cheering for the Lakers the last time the Celtics and Lakers met in the
I
playoffs.
guarantee you he will not be cheering for the Lakers if they met in the playoffs this year.
Not this year. But who's getting his first taste this season? The rivalry is the rookie, Shirden.
It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun for sure. At the end of the day, it's just one performance and, try to be, short-sighted and be on to the next game. But it definitely felt good, make an impact.
You blew a couple kisses after your threes. Were they chirping you?
Yeah, I mean, every time you shoot by the bench, you know, they're always saying hell nah. So I'm having to turn around and give them a little kiss.
No shy, man. Already getting in. Like I said, already getting into it with the opposing
Aaron
team's
is not
bench.
shy. He's not shy.
Not shy
okay?
at all, actually.
I like
Bailey, you know, like look at Bailey getting comfortable with the media, getting comfortable with the opposing team. Just heard from Noah. She's setting up. She's going to jump in and give us some info on what she was able to find out after the game, her thoughts on this Celtics win over the Sixers tonight. This is probably one of her favorite games because all of her main babies were able to get some playing time, and she was probably able to put the finishing touches on all of her sidebars that she has on each Celtics Stay Ready crew member. She's probably just putting the final quotes in. She's going to have 10 articles written ready to go on all these players. No, but we're going to get Noah in a minute here. And then we'll get her thoughts on this. I don't know if I should call it a rivalry game, Sherrod, but it's a big game Saturday. It's a big game.
And it's a big game, not just because it's the Lakers, but because they're playing really well. And the way this season is playing out, I don't think anyone will be shocked if these two teams meet in the finals. I mean, they're both number 2 in their respective conferences. They're both playing really well. They both have the kind of rosters that you could see making their way through their respective conferences. But the point that you made earlier, Jimmy, and I think that I find myself thinking a lot about this, is that the Lakers have, I think, good team chemistry, but they don't have good team wisdom. And by that, I simply mean they don't have guys that you feel comfortable and confident are going to be able to handle the mental warfare that exists when you get to the playoffs. And I don't care what any young player tells you, it's a different game when you get to the playoffs. There's no one who's ever been to the postseason who will tell you that game 1 of the playoffs is no different than game 71 in the regular season or game 21 in the regular season. Bullshit. It's an absolutely different type of game because there's so much more at stake. And I just don't know if the Lakers and their really good role players are ready to withstand that. And also their head coach, you know, this is his first go round, you know, and if they get to the playoffs, which they should, and if they get like the number 2 or 3 seed, which they should, how is he going to handle being a favorite? Because it's a different kind of pressure when you get to the postseason. So
you don't think LeBron and Luka is enough to be ready for, you know, the playoffs? Those both guys who have at least been, you know, Luka hasn't won, but he's been to the finals, and LeBron obviously has been to a number of them and won a few.
2 guys don't beat 5 or 6 or 7. They can certainly impact the game in a big way, but they're going to need those other guys to step up. They're going to need them to play a little bit beyond their level of wisdom that they've shown thus far. And it's not like they're dumb players or anything like that. They're just young. They're just not. They're entering territory they've never been in before. And typically when that happens, you don't perform as well as you've done when you didn't have that pressure. So
somebody who always performs under pressure, Noa Dalzell, everybody. Welcome to the show. Tell me your microphone works.
I think so. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, it works. We can hear you. Yeah.
Is it okay?
Yeah, a little bit of an echo, but we'll have to make it work.
Echo.
It's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
We love it. We're gonna start with the game. I know that this game probably means a lot more to you than it means to other people due to some of the playing time that was given to some of the players that you've been following, I would say, more closely than most of us, talking about whether it's Shireman or Walsh or Peterson, or we go down the line. Tell us what stood out to you. Tell us who stood out to you in this one, and then we'll work our way to Saturday's game.
First of all, this was the second best game of the year after last night. So
Yeah,
it has been a premier back-to-back here.
Good call, Jimmy.
Premier back-to-back here at TD Garden. Listen, I know obviously fans want to see the stars play, but you know, everybody else is also on the team. They're equally people, right? They're equally have a locker in the locker room and a seat on the plane and everything. And normally you don't really see any of those guys play. And tonight we saw all of them get a chance. over the last 48 hours, everybody, other than Porzingis and Drew has checked into the game. And I thought there was a lot to like about Baylor Shireman's play. There was a lot to like about just what he was able to do on both ends, like super impressive. I thought there was a lot to like about the fact that guys were ready to come in and impact the game who didn't play at all in previous games, like the Torrey Craigs of the world. So yeah, you want to have a culture and you want to have a team that people are ready to step in. And I think there have been moments this season where I felt like they didn't have it the way they did previous years. Like the stay ready thing wasn't quite there. Like it's easy to say, but to actually see those guys step up, they haven't always done it. So tonight, these last few games are important because ultimately, you want to have that culture established, and you also want to make sure that guys are developing. And I thought Baylor Shireman looked ready to contribute, whether it's going to be on a regular basis next year or not, but it was certainly a good showing for him, for a guy who hasn't really gotten an extensive opportunity in Boston.
Yeah, well, it felt like Shireman stood out, I guess you can put it that way, out of all the guys that got some extended time in this one. It felt like he made the most of it, whether it was, taking 7 threes, which I'm sure that they said, hey, you're out there to shoot. This is the night for you to do it. Go do it. He wasn't shy about it at all. I think it was 3 for 7 from 3. Yeah, it's right there up on the screen. 15 points, obviously a career high for him. And then Derrick White was asked about it after the game. The slide, it looked like he was sliding into home plate there in that fourth quarter. Yeah. Just very active.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the thing is like, obviously he hit some shots here and that's going to be important. And he's not just the fact that he made 3 3-pointers, but the fact that he attempted 7. There are a lot of guys on this bench that just won't take the open shots. And I think even he passed up some early ones. But yeah, the thing that stood out to me the most when I watched him in Maine, and I know Maine is its own thing, but he was the hardest playing player on the floor for both teams every single game that I watched him play. And, Maine guys sometimes lose focus because there's a lot of guys going ISO. There's players shuffling in and out. Like it's hard to be your best self, I think, sometimes in the G League. But Baylor literally was the hardest playing player on the court and diving on, loose balls, offensive rebounds, just playing the right way, really. And, that doesn't go away when you play in the NBA. Like if that's your mindset in a G League game, like that's going to be your mindset in an NBA game. And so I think I saw him do a lot of the same things that he does well in the G League, but just obviously against somewhat better competition. And still, the competition, I'll admit, they were not playing, the highest caliber NBA players. But you saw him impacting, just making the right play at the right time, drawing a charge, getting a loose ball. Like those were not coincidences. Those were things. That's what he is known for. That is why he was drafted. That's why he's been a successful basketball player. And you heard Tatum say, like, he's not the most athletic, but he kind of does the most of what he has. So yeah, I thought that was as good as you could hope for him in his 30 minutes tonight. And he's not going to play in the playoffs. But I think a lot of people wonder, is this guy a bust? Like that's kind of what happens when you don't see a guy who gets drafted in the first round show up in Boston. And I think that they just have a developmental program that works, and we'll see. We'll see. I don't want to say like because he has one good game, like he's gonna take off here. But yeah.
But yeah, I think we all agree. We all agree he's not going to be a rotation guy in the playoffs. But with the way things have been going for Hauser right now, with the injury bug that he's been dealing with, whether it's a back or the ankle or whatnot, and some of the other things, guys, whether it's the stay ready crew not really being ready, they've been looking for somebody to kind of break out a little bit. And I'm not saying that, again, I agree with you. He's not going to jump into, the playoff rotation here, but could this type of performance give him just enough so that we might see him more often in the regular season, or he might be the first guy out of that, sort of group of guys that's kind of on the edge of the rotation, like the Torrey Craigs, the Shiremans, the Walshes, the Petersons, like somebody needs to sort of take the lead there.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's established themselves as like the backup wing. And there is a question like Drew. I didn't think Drew Peterson was going to start today, but he gets that opportunity. Jordan Walsh got the opportunity last night. Like, I wish I understood the rationale better for some of these decisions. I don't know if they're kind of random or if there is something in the film that's pointing Joe towards different guys in different days, because sometimes I don't see it. But yeah, it's going to take more than one game. But if one of these guys is able to consistently string together like these solid performances, I do think it's going to go a long way towards establishing them as the backup wing. And down the stretch here, over the next 5 weeks, there are going to be a bunch of these opportunities because Tatum and Brown are going to get their rest games. Drew Holiday is going to be out for a while. So this is like a little bit of their home stretch here, a little bit of their playoffs is this next month, because I have a feeling Baylor is going to see extended opportunities here. And the plan was for him to be in Maine earlier in the year, and he did that, and he played great. And now he gets the opportunity to kind of show what he learned. And the system is so jointed. I mean, if you looked at the starting lineup today, Neemias Queta, Jordan Walsh, Drew Peterson, I mean, those are 3 Maine Celtics guys, or not Neemias Queta, Luke Kornet, also a Maine Celtic guy. So you're seeing that those programs are connected. I know everybody, I know it's like, I am overly obsessed with the Maine Celtics, and I find the whole thing really interesting, but
maybe a little.
Sometimes it pays off. Tonight was one of those nights. So
it was, you knew what to look for, I would say, more than anybody else, for sure. You mentioned, well, were you in there for Derrick White, Noah? I'm not sure if you were in. I think you were in their locker room for Derrick White, but
I was in there. Yes.
He had another. We've been talking about teeth a lot this week, and I guess Derrick White is now in on the action. I don't know if you were able to ask him about his teeth brushing, whether or not he goes toothpaste first or not, but how is he doing? He seemed like he was in pretty good spirits despite once again knocking his teeth out.
Yeah, that was actually like a pretty funny Derrick White press conference. I think you can kind of see that he's actually a naturally funny guy. I always think this when we're in the locker room that he's really not awkward at all. I think it's just he's a little bit camera shy. But yeah, it was his 4 front teeth, right, that knocked out. And I guess the good news is that they were still the temporary teeth. So he actually had to go in and replace them. So I don't know why it took like almost a year between June and now to have to do that. Like his appointment was for 2 weeks ago, but at least I when we saw him lose a tooth, I thought maybe it was an unrelated, like new tooth, original tooth, but this is one that was going to go anyway. So I don't think it was a huge deal, but I did think it was pretty cool that he came back into this game because there was really no reason to. I mean,
right.
I thought he was going to because I know him at this point, but when the injury update came out, like probable to return dental injury, it's like, of course, because they're up by 20. There's, it's as meaningless of a game as you could have this time of year, and even still, he checks back in because he was like, I glued them back on, so why not?
Yeah. Again, we didn't mention him, and that was kind of the question. I think one of the reporters that mentioned to Joe is like, we haven't even really mentioned Jayson Tatum tonight, but goes out there, drops 35, 3 quarters, and kind of just ho hum, goes about his business, and that's kind of it. I mean, it says a lot about, I guess, where he's come as a player, where you don't really even bat an eye. But I mean, what was he able to give them tonight? It looks like he's feeling okay, I guess, after missing last night's game.
Yeah, I don't think his injury was ever much of a thing, but yeah, I mean, this is what you hope, right? When you look at the injury report and they're down so many rotation players, you hope that the 1 or 2 guys that are available are able to step up and kind of dominate the game. And this one just looked easy for him. Like he could have had more. He, finished with 35. He could have probably gone for 50 if he had played a little bit longer and enforced it a little bit more. But yeah, that's not what he's going for right now. You see these guys, they're not vying for triple doubles or point totals or whatnot. Like they talked about that last night as well. But it really resonated for me what Pritchard said last night after the game about how like he didn't know that last night was going to be his night. It just so kind of happened to be that the ball was finding him. And I think tonight there was a good chance if you were going to predict who's going to go off, Tatum was primed to do so, but could have also been somebody else. But in this one, he kind of took care of business. And Joe doesn't often tell us like exact things that he tells players, but he disclosed that line, I think, because he felt comfortable sharing that message. But that was kind of what his job was today. It's 4:35 and don't play in the fourth. And you really couldn't have asked for more from him. And not only that, but just like watching him on the bench, he was so engaged with the younger guys playing. He gets a lot of flack for being kind of this more stone-faced guy on the bench. And him and Brown are both kind of like that. But this was one of the most animated games I've ever seen from him on the sidelines. Like everything that Baylor Shireman did, every loose ball, hustle play, Neemias Queta alley-oop, like he was celebrating it like it was the NBA Finals. And so you could tell that these kinds of opportunities, like it's a good thing for the team camaraderie too, because all year these guys they don't even break a sweat during the game, and they come into the locker room and there's like 6 guys that really were meaningfully contributing. And I think that he enjoyed kind of watching everybody else enjoy some of that experience as well.
you're around this team all season. Did you get the sense that, they are pretty close knit and they kind of, we can see it on TV, but you being around it in the practices, you kind of get that feeling that they are like tight, good teammates and like there for each other. And like tonight was, I guess, a good example of that. If you're talking about Tatum, kind of throwing his support behind a lot of guys that don't really typically get that opportunity.
Yeah, I think the main thing I noticed is they never throw each other under the bus, like at all, to the media. And I think that's something that you kind of take for granted. You can tell that guys are genuinely happy for one another when they have success. Like with Pritchard and Derrick. I mean, Pritchard and Derrick are such like favorites, but you could tell everybody was so happy that they got that opportunity. I always think it's hard from where we stand to like really evaluate their dynamics and their personal relationships. And I try not to speak above like what I actually can, but they're pretty locked in pregame. Like nobody's really talking in the locker room pregame. And I actually went into Philadelphia's locker room and everybody was hanging out and chatting. And I was like, wonder if this is a good sign for Philadelphia or if they're about to get blown out because they were so loose. And obviously in their case, that looseness maybe didn't translate into the best performance. But yeah, I think you can just tell that they've been together for a long time. There's like some individually really close relationships, but in general, there's just a buy-in about the team success mattering more than the individual one. And you don't feel like, oh, there are guys playing for contracts or guys are playing for numbers. Like they're all playing towards the same thing. Nobody ever strays away from that message. We try to get them to say something interesting and they never do. They always say, it's not about my 50 points. It's not about this. It's really just about the team. Maybe tomorrow I'll score 2 points and I won't care, And I do think they believe it. It comes off so genuine when everybody's constantly hammering home that message. And I asked Joe about it before the game and I said, like, how do you kind of get that buy-in? And he was like, it's not buy-in. It's just like literally who they are. Like I didn't have to do it. Like it's their character. So I do think that part of it is really authentic. And that part of it I can pick up on just being around them all the time.
Nice. Anything else stand out to you in this one? Any other players, whether it was Walsh, any of your
I thought Torrey Graves
guys?
Yeah. Torrey was effective in his minutes. High energy, right place, right time. Looked like a vet. It was good to see him. But yeah, it was just kind of across the board. I mean, there's some guys that didn't do as much with the opportunity, and that's to be expected. I think Baylor was obviously the bigger story tonight, but everybody that came in seemed to know what they were doing, and that's the important thing. I think so that there's an understanding of the system, and nobody kind of comes in and looks lost. And I did feel like a couple months ago they would come in sometimes and look a little lost, and it's not usually the end of the world because it doesn't impact the final score or doesn't impact the outcome. But you notice those things, and I think that group is kind of gaining a sense of confidence and kind of togetherness, playing together as well.
All right. That's it for this game. Now me and Sherrod have been talking way too much about this game, a game that we'll never literally talk about again. So I am officially moving on from this game, Noah. We got to talk about Saturday night because this is a game I've had circled on my calendar for a while. I imagine a lot of other Celtics fans have. I don't know how Celtics players really feel about it compared to, they asked Tatum about it and I thought he had a pretty good answer, basically saying like, I don't really see the Lakers as a rival, but I understand why they are considered one based on the history of, the two organizations and the going, the battle of the banners and the, NBA finals matchups that they had over the years. Do you get the sense that the players are like gearing up for this one, or does it feel like just another game? Are you excited for it? What can you tell us about the Lakers? What are they doing well right now with Luka now on the team? Hit us with some facts.
Yeah, the biggest thing is that the Lakers have had the best defense in the NBA for the last 20 games. And I don't get it. And I haven't watched enough Lakers basketball. The biggest thing I can attribute it to is maybe knowing that Anthony Davis isn't there to bail you out. Like everybody else has just stepped up their individual game. And then obviously guys like Jared Vanderbilt, who I think the league at large is not anticipating his return. The Lakers really were, and he's back and he's been really impactful. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. So I'm just looking forward to seeing that defense in action. Obviously, there's the storied rivalry between the two franchises. I think it hasn't really played out a whole lot in this generation, and this could be the beginning of an era. I think the Luka and the Celtics already have some history, obviously. Jalen and him went at it in the finals. I think Tatum has a little bit of an extra edge whenever he's asked about him. I think that there's a little bit of a competitive fire there too. So I think this will be a great game, and maybe the sign, the beginning of a new dynamic between these two teams, because LeBron, I don't want to count him out. He might have some years to play, but Luka obviously is the future for that franchise. And I think it'll be a good one. And it's the most expensive regular season game I have ever seen on Game Time.
Me too.
I haven't been looking for that many years, but for the last few years, definitely. So hopefully we get some good, excited fans in the building, because sometimes I worry that the fans are priced out. So I'm sure this will have a great buzz. Saturday night. This is like the most prime time you could get in every aspect. So for a regular season game, this is as big as it gets, and the fact that it's his debut here. We haven't seen this team before, so I'm sure it'll be great. But I don't know exactly like the rivalries there yet. But I could see these kinds of games are like what sets the foundation for that.
I think I think you hit the nail on the head. These are the games that set the foundation. This is going to feel like a playoff atmosphere, certainly leading up to it, during the intros, the tip-off. Anytime LeBron is in the building, you get that extra energy. There's a lot of LeBron fans end up showing up. There's a lot of Lakers fans show up, right? That's why these tickets are going for what they are. Not just Celtics fans are willing to pay this amount of money. You're getting Lakers fans that will pay that much. You're getting LeBron fans that are going to pay that much. And yeah, you get a recipe for I agree with you, Noah. I can't remember the last time for a regular game. I'm not talking about a game that included like a banner or a jersey retirement or anything like that, but just a game. This feels like one of the most expensive tickets I've seen. I can't even think of another time. So maybe ever, maybe I'm missing something, but for a regular season, it does feel that way. I'm excited
even
for it.
Last year after the Warriors finals, even those kinds of games didn't get up to this price.
Right. There's a lot of excitement. And I mentioned it earlier. If you're a conspiracy theorist, you might wonder how Luka ended up on the Lakers, but it is good for the league. It's very, very good for the league. I think there's not a lot of games in the NBA regular season that like the country watches, but I do feel like that's going to be the case Saturday night. It's going to have that like almost like a football feel to it. I feel like, and when there's a big football game, Sunday Night Football or whatever, everyone's kind of watching it. I feel like that's going to be this game Saturday night. It just kind of all works out that way with it being an 8:30 p.m. start. CLNS will have you covered. There's a big rumor going around, Noah, that I'm going to be in the building, and I can confirm that to be true. So the game just got way more interesting for you. First of all, we're gonna be doing some work together. Maybe pregame, maybe postgame. We'll see. But I'm excited. It should be.
You're coming as a reporter.
CLNS will have you covered. I think. Oh, I'm coming with the press pass, baby.
Oh my God, I can't even pick. Which, by the way, I was told to ask you about some interaction you had with Brandon Bass back in the day. We can save it for offline, but I just wanted to know that the whole week was talking about it, so they're going to be happy to have you back.
My man, BDB. Brandon Bass.
Me and Brandon Bass, we've had some conversations. Yeah. It doesn't stop there. But yeah, me and Brandon, let's just say
so I'll be looking forward to hearing about that on Saturday.
Yeah, he didn't always agree with some of my line of questioning. We can just leave it at that. But that's okay.
Really? Okay. Brutal line of questioner?
I wouldn't say brutal. I would say sometimes I just said what needed to be said. Sometimes these guys, they just you know what it is, Noah? They're used to everyone, kind of pussyfooting around, beating around the bush. Sometimes you just got to say the thing.
Is this on video?
Let them react. Yes, it's on video. Me and Brandon Bass? No, that's not on video. I've had, we're not going to get into it, but I mean, I was covering the team with KG. We had some tough, me and KG had some tough moments. Those keep me up at night, actually. But yeah, it should be fun. I'm looking forward to it. There's some side stuff too. Tatum, Luka is a great rivalry. How about, no one's mentioned this, but Jaylen Brown and LeBron a little bit, little something there maybe. If everybody recalls, Jaylen Brown had an opinion about Bronny James not being a real NBA player, and that didn't sit well with Papa
Daddy.
James. Yeah, exactly.
Daddy didn't like that.
Daddy didn't like that. So there's a lot of little side things to look for on Saturday night. We'll have you guys covered. Appreciate everybody hanging out with us tonight. We know it wasn't the most interesting game to everybody except Noah, but we do appreciate everybody who stuck around, watched it. Want to thank Noah for jumping on with us. Sherrod, thanks for hanging out with me. We went 1 hour and 40 minutes on this one. That's what the kids would call crazy work. Happy to do it. And we will be here Saturday. Listen to the chat, drop some late likes. Noah, if you're listening, if you're watching, hit me with
She's
the
right
outro.
there, Jimmy.
Not Noah. Amit, if you're listening.
No one's
And-
sneaking a vegan brownie by me, I'll tell you that.
Okay, you know what, John? We're gonna do it.
You have to feel that way too, Bobby.
I have to
Same.
feel that
Same
way.
to you.
Slide Al over and make Luke your first center.
Bobby, we gave you Luke hour early. We're not going to end this on a damn conversation about Luke